Good evening and welcome to the Whisky Lover Society with me, Gert Retief. Tonight we are looking at the Springbank 10-year-old. It is a single malt. It is from the Springbank distillery, matured for 10 years. And they do a maturation in a combination of ex-bourbon cask and ex-sherry cask, 60% bourbon and 40% sherry, natural color, non-chill filtered, 46% ABV, and if you look a little bit online, you'll find it anywhere between 90 and 100 euro here in Europe. So I did try a couple of Springbanks. Not always a big fan of the Springbanks. I tried the 12, the 15, the 17-year-old, and I must admit I was not a big fan of the 12-year-old. The 15 and 16 was absolutely fantastic. But I think maybe that was just something wrong with the one that I had. There's a lot of people that's ranting and raving about the 12-year-old. The one that I tried was definitely not one that I enjoyed. So tonight we are looking at the 10-year-old, and I must say I've spent a little bit of time with this one over the last couple of days, and I will just go through the motions, what I got from the first pour and up to what I'm finding tonight. So color wise, it is not a very dark one, natural color, 10 years old, a light golden color. Well, what do you think about my new lighting? I'm just trying something new, so let me know in a comment. So just before I go on with the video, thank you very much for all the fantastic subscribers, all the comments, I really appreciate it. And just remember that once we've reached 1,000 subscribers, all ad revenue will go to children in South Africa. And of course I have a Patreon account if you cannot wait that long to support some kids, needy kids in South Africa. So onto the whiskey, on the nose, cheers. Now, there's a reason that I'm calling this whiskey Jekyll and Hyde. When I first opened up the bottle, it was not that fantastic for me. I really struggled to find that fantastic notes that everybody was talking about. That was a little bit of a weirdness. I think some people call it that funky note or the Springbank funk. I'm not always convinced that I do like it. But on the 15 and 17-year-old, it was absolutely nice for me. But on the 10, it was a little bit pronounced, and it was a little bit off-putting for me. But that, of course, changed quite dramatically over a little bit of time in the glass. So that there's a little bit of a funny, salty, maybe a little bit of a sweet toffee note that the first thing that I got onto it, and that little salty note was a little bit of a strange one for me. It is sherry, 40% sherry. I don't get a lot of the sherry notes. It's for me more than the bourbon, well, 60-40, so I expected that a little bit, but definitely not that funky sherry notes that you sometimes get on the whiskey. Also, what I do pick up is a nice light vanilla note, but it's right there at the back. It's not something that just jumps out at you and screams vanilla. So quite a delicate vanilla note. And already, I poured this one maybe 15 minutes ago. Already there's a big change for me on the nose. A little bit lighter, a little bit sweeter. It definitely likes a little bit of time in the glass. For me anyway. A hint of a peat appearing, but very light peat. Almost a little bit like the Glen Scotia that I had, lightly peated. Quite nice. It also do get sweeter. Every time I go back, it's a little bit more sweeter on the nose. And I get a little bit of an apple note. More like a sweet apple cider. There's a little bit, and I think that's where that little funkiness comes in. A little bit of a mango. Also pick up a little bit of a honey note. And then right at the end, I get a little bit of a dusty hay note. You know, when you go into one of these big barns with the big bales of hay, and you give it a little bump and a little shake, there's a little bit of a dust coming off, that hay dust on the nose. And then a little bit of a oakiness in the end. So in the end, on the nose, started off a little bit on the shaky side for me, and then it just moved into the nice, lovely, sweet, fruity note in the end. So quite pleasant if you give it a little bit of time. So on the taste, cheers. On the taste, it is absolutely fantastic. Now, if I compare this to the 12-year-old, it's worlds apart for me. It's lovely sweet. It's got a fruity component to it. There's a hint of a sour note in the end, just to balance a little bit that sweetness of the whiskey. Really good for me on the taste. When you take that first sip, I thought it was a little bit oily, and just want to make sure. There's just a hint of an oiliness. Not every time, but I get that hint of an oiliness. I get definitely that peat is showing up, but it feels like it's immediately turning a little bit on a dry side for me. So oily, peat, a little bit dry. Or sweet, oily, peat with a little bit of dryness in the end. The fruity component is definitely still there. There's a little bit of an apple note, maybe a little bit of a pear note. Also a little bit of that cider, apple cider coming through. Let me just give it one more. I keep on going back, so it must be quite good. Really, really good. Big fruity notes, big apple cider notes, and then in the end, that little bit of a peaty note coming in. So definitely, after spending some time with it, started off that the good doctor, and it then just changed everything into something fantastic for me. I really like this one. I will definitely recommend it. Of course, the price for a 10-year-old up to €100 is quite a lot of money to spend on a whiskey. And of course, this is the only one that you actually can get nowadays. If you go look online, well, if I look online at my store, very difficult to find some of the Springbanks. This one, quite accessible still, but yeah, in my online store, of course it's Belgium, it was going for €100, so quite a lot of money. So in the end, is there something that I would recommend? I'm not 100% sure if I would recommend it, just because of the cost of here in Belgium for €100 for the bottle. Seems a little bit high for a 10-year-old. I know the hype around it. A lot of people are trying it. A lot of people are saying that this is the best whiskey that they've ever tasted. It is nice. It is something that I would love to have in the bar. But of course, there is so many whiskey out there for less than €100 that I would love to try first before I commit to €100 for one bottle of whiskey. But anyway, lovely. Definitely something that I would appreciate over time. Oh, and the nose is absolutely fantastic with some time. And of course, the taste is fantastic. So leave a comment. Tell me what you think about this one. Have you tried it? Is it something that you would recommend for your friends? So thank you very much for watching. I will also put a link in the description or somewhere over here that you can have a look at the other Springbanks that I've reviewed. Make up your own mind. Especially if you align with my type of taste. So thank you very much, and I see you next time. Cheers.